because I have what my therapist once deemed mild OCD, and I watched you discuss having OCD, and like, because it sounds like I hear I've listened to enough about like your childhood, and at least compared to my childhood, it seemed like chaotic.
Oh yeah.
Chaotic. Dropping out of high school.
Yeah.
At least at this age, I go cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at that time, if someone told me someone dropped out of high school, I'd be like, oh my God, stay away from them. Do you think? Do you look back on that era, and does OCD, does it relate to behavioral things, or did it emerge later in your life?
No. I mean, I mean, I got a pretty early diagnosis, but I also can like.
What age?
18.
18.
But like, I got, but it was like, I was a terrible kid, just like bad at school, bad at parental relationships, bad with friends, bad with everything, because I was just going through it. Another reason why Louisiana is a dog shit fuckhole state. They don't encourage. There's no encouragement to do anything with your life or to get any help. Louisiana is a very just like Southern, like, well, fucking figure it out type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
were your parents like that too?
No. I lucked out with my immediate family. My immediate family's fantastic.
So why do you think you rebelled against them?
Because at the time, I was a very shy kid. And the thing about OCD on any level is, especially when you know nothing about it, because every school you go to refuses to have any sort of class on mental health at all. It's all religion, and it's all, you're terrified to be like, Mom, I have this reoccurring thought that drives me into fits of panic about grabbing your tits. You know what I mean?
What age do you remember that?
Oh my God.
14. You know what I mean?
And so is the thought, I'm gonna do it and it's gonna be a disaster.
No, the thought is, what if I did it right now? And then you're like, why do? And everyone has thoughts like that. You just, without a disorder.
I think about grabbing your mom's tits all the time.
Thank you. And they're good tits. For 72, they're fucking quality tits. But I mean, look, it's shit like that where you're like, oh man, what if, it's like, man, hey, Dad, I've just been having this weird, like, I'm afraid that I'm just gonna pull my dick out in front of you. Or like, you're in front of, I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. And I have younger siblings, and you're just terrified of even like thinking shit around them when you're that age.
That's so interesting.
Because then it's shit like, hey, here's my little brother. What if I kill him? What if I can break his fucking neck? He's 4. I'm 16. I can do it so easy. And then you're like, why would I think that shit? And then it's like, because you want to do it. Like, no, you don't want to do it. But then you thought about it. But then you planned it out. The amount of times where you're just like, with friends, you're like, oh man, it would be so fucking crazy if I just ran him over. You're like drive, or like you're in the car and you're like, what if I just pull the wheel? And then you can't unthink it. Man. And then you get in these like these spirals of like, it's always the most disturbing shit that catches. It's never the good stuff. And that's part of the disorder. Because you'll have those thoughts too of like, I should hug my dad right now. Or I should tell my sisters they're cool. But you don't run with those.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, I should kick my sister in the fucking head. She's laying on the ground. I got boots on. I get fucking pulverized. Why? Why?
What did you say when you were a kid?
Intrusive thoughts.
Intrusive thoughts. Yeah. My intrusive thoughts are always like, they're more, if I see an oven, I go, I go to the Holocaust. I'm like, oh, what if you're dying in an oven? What does it feel like?
Sure.
Or I have a lot of like, if the train's coming, it's like, what if I jumped? What if I just jumped? Or what if... But it's rarely, it's things happening to me more than it is, I'm going to do this.
Well, also, it's like, I'm an empath. I know that about myself now. So all of my thoughts were always disturbingly sexual or violent. And it was because it's the opposite of what an empath wants. You know what I'm saying? You want to cause people joy because that's how you feel joy.
Yeah.
So the most disturbing thing to be would cause people pain so that you feel pain. Wow. Right? So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like my own insecurity and pain being driven through disturbing ass fucking thoughts about everyone around me constantly.
What age do you remember?
It really started, I'd say, when I hit puberty. Like, right in tune. 14, 13, 14 was when but then even before that, I can remember as like a kid, as like a prepubescent 11, 12-year-old, like where it starts coming on. You know what I'm saying? Where you start like just staring at your grandma and just being like, what if I fucking just pushed her in I can just push her in, right? No. I push her in the pool. She got a walker. No, don't do that.
My God.
Don't do that. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they start spiraling into like, why do I want to kill grandma?
That's so intense.
And you're like, you don't want to kill grandma,
Yeah.
but then you start. So like just saying that out loud to a parent till at 17.
When did you say it out loud? When did you have? It's so easy. Especially as a comedian, you could be like, I want to grab my mom's tits. But I imagine at 16, it's like, I would never speak this out loud to another human being.
And what that meant is I started not talking to my parents or my sister because I was terrified of just having the thought. So I was just ignoring them. I was just being like, fuck you. I was like, and that, of course, turned into a sort of rebellion of just like you start blaming them all of a sudden. You start putting it on.
Why are your tits out? Why are you always wearing that low-cut dress?
Yeah. Why do you got to be a fucking mom? You stupid bitch. And then you're like, but that's not her fault. And then you start not being around your siblings, and you're like, it's your fault. I fucking look at you. Why you got to be so young? I don't mean want to kill you. Of course I could kill you. You're so stupid and young. And you're like, I don't want to do that. But then you start just pushing them away and hanging out with your buddies and getting fucked up all the time and taking Xanax out the wazoo just because that would kill the anxiety.
Yeah.
Intrusive thoughts feels like such a better word for. I remember when because OCD just has so many underpinnings. It seems so broad. It seems just like anything that's recurring in your brain.
And people also use it now as like almost like an adjective.
Yeah.
That's so OCD of you, or like,
oh yeah,
oh man, I'm so OCD. I just can't, I have to brush my teeth twice a day. I'm like, that's not.
But I also think it's how do you talk about degrees where it's like, I would never be like, I suffer from OCD, but I can look back on like when I was trying to learn how to drive and I had this thought of like a car's going to be behind me and I would do this thing. I'd be on the road and I need to just like turn like 12 times for some reason. I just had to turn to make sure there was no car behind me in a way that
that's a spectrum.
I wasn't in a.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's hard because I think some people, when they use it as an adjective, there's a mix. There's some people use it because they're like, I like things to be tidy. And there's some people who are like, I really like things to be tidy. And if they're not, I get mad. And it's like, but maybe a little.
Well, I mean, but then this is where the compulsive part comes in. Then you start developing tics to counteract these measures.
Yes.
Sort of like to prevent myself from ever going on a mass murdering spree. You start being like, and it's always based in some random ass shit. The one I use in my special was like microwaving nothing for 33 seconds to prevent nuclear war.
And so you would do that?
I did that for years. Every single night of my life.
Really?
For years.
What was the first time?
The first time was a religious thing. Was a lot of that shit's based in religion, but I can't remember the exact specifics of the first time. But the first time was 33 was the year Jesus died. It was the age Jesus died.
Oh,
right.
You just had the thought.
So it was something along the lines of 33 seconds, microwave nothing, and then it was like that will the 33 seconds of radiation coming from the microwave will siphon off all the radiation of all the warheads in the world.
Yeah.
And prevent them from ever being launched. It's something crazy like that is completely illogical, but you're so fucking terrified of these thoughts and the possibility of you actually acting on them that you will take these compulsions as the thing that prevents them.
Mine,
did anyone know that you were doing like that?
This is why every single TV show or movie about someone with OCD has been just unbelievably inaccurate.
Yeah.
Monk, love Tony Shalhoub, completely inaccurate depiction. As Good as It Gets, Jack Nicholson, of course, also completely inaccurate because they've painted these characters as comfortable with people witnessing them have tics. And that is just not the case.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
That is not the case.
Did you ever actually put something in the microwave for the ritual?
Nothing could be in there.
Nothing could be in there.
Dude, but I'm talking, I would do it at sleepovers. I would do it at friends' houses. I would do it. I just had to do it once a day.
Any sleepover where they said, "Where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you going, Sean?"
Multiple times in my life, I've pretended like, oh, fuck, I forgot to put.
Wow.
Or timed it that way where I was like, oh, we're getting pizza. Yeah. And I microwaved 33 seconds. I'm like, oh, I forgot to put the slice in. Well, boop. And then.
Wow.
But then there was other ones like walking through, if a door had, if it pulled out, right, I could walk through. But if it went in, I had to walk through it backwards, right? That one would.
And would you, with your friends, would you just be like, "Hey guys," and like
1,000%,
Oh,
1,000%. 1,000%.
When I was like really, like my OCD really, it felt like it doubled with like an existential crisis. And I was always like, what happens when you die? What happens when you die? And I would have this thing like if I could guess when a number would if I'd be on the Stairmaster and I'd be like, if I can guess when the next number is going to change on like a calorie counter, like it's going to happen in 3, 2, 1, or the elevator is going to open in 3, 2, 1. And I'd be like, if it happens, I've proven there was like a whiff of logic in the sense of like, if it happens, that means psychicism is real and there's an afterlife. And I would just do it as like a little game. And I never like, it never happened once. And I said, great, all set on that.
Right.
I no longer have fear. But it like interacted in a weird way.
That's the thing. Anyone with OCD, and there are people with far more extreme versions than me, but you are 100% aware that it's not real, but you are terrified of the probability of it happening if you don't do these things. That's the disorder part, right? And it starts small. It starts with little ticks to prevent you from grabbing your mom's tits, and then it bleeds out to the rest of the world. It starts with bigger ticks to prevent fucking killer bees.
I heard bigger tits.
Bigger tits for bigger tits. Dicks for tits. But you know what I'm saying? Like you're saving the world one OCD compulsion at a time.
Wow.
And then, in a nut, this is the thing. This is what I dropped out of high school, but my parents did not know. I, for almost 2 weeks, just pretended like I was going to school every day. And I would just get up and leave the house and then just wander around Slidell, Louisiana by myself.
Yeah.
Right? Hiding. Sometimes I would go to someone's house. I had a lot of friends who were half days. I'd meet up with them. I had places to go, but would lie. And that shit was spiraling. And I started having like day-long anxiety attacks where I was just for a day, and I became religious. And I suddenly turned to like, so I went to church one Sunday by myself, and I was at a state of I was in hell. I was just like, I had anxiety from the moment I woke up and not just, I'm talking panic attacks. If you've ever had an anxiety attack, that feeling of like, everything's about to fucking end.
I'm gonna
now
die
for days at a time. And I'm in church, and church happens, and then everyone's leaving, and the priest is at the doorway greeting everyone on their way out. And I remember like walking out, and the priest, 2 people for me, he's like, "Thank you for coming, God bless. Thank you for coming, God bless." And then to me he goes, "Stay sane," right? And that sent me into this like, why would he say that? Of all things, and I went and sat in my car and just bawled. Just bawled, because I was like, it was God. God was telling me, stay sane. Oh my, and I drove home and went right to my parents and just fucking copped to everything. Just fessed up. Like, I dropped out of school 2 weeks now. I've been lying. I'm insane. I'm going insane. I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I've been feeling like this for years. I'm so sorry. Please don't commit me to that kind of shit. My parents handled it very well. Put me in therapy like 2 days later. Saw a therapist for the first time. 2 days at like two sessions in, he was like, "Yep, obsessive compulsive disorder for sure." And the process started of like the heal, and I felt so much better. But I was for a few days religious, and then I went back to church the following Sunday again alone. Big mass, same thing, same priest, and I'm a little further back on the greeting line, and I see him, and I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go talk to this priest again." Same priest, and I witness it again, but further up. It's, "Jesus, thank you for coming, God bless. Thank you for coming, God bless." And then there's someone else who goes, "Stay sane." And I noticed that, and I step back, and I watch it happen. It's just, "Thank you for coming, God bless. Thank you for coming, God bless. Stay sane," to another person. So "stay sane" was just the third thing he said.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's, by the way, he's probably got OCD, and he's like, every third person I gotta say, stay sane, or I'm gonna lose my mind.
Right. And if that's the case, that's the level of coincidence that made man invent God in the first place. But I still went up to like be like, "Hey, let's see what he says to me though."
Yeah.
And I was just a "thank you for coming, God bless" this time.
Yeah.
And that sent me into a different spiral. And I sat in my car this time and fucking laughed to myself, because then it was like none of that.
Oh God, there is no.
Well, I was like, if there is a God, God wanted me to know it wasn't religion.
Yeah.
That it was me.
Yeah.
That it was me. That it was me finally, whatever the circumstances that made me finally take the step to help myself, I did.
Yeah.
But don't give Catholicism the credit at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like if there is a God, God was like, "Hey, hold on. I'm going to make you be 2 more people behind, or like maybe it was more than that, like 10 people behind, so you see that it's all a fraud. The first time you fell for it, you were susceptible. If you'd have been paying attention, you probably would have saw that 3 people before he said the same thing, but you didn't. You were in your head for 3 days straight.
Do you ever worry if you ever go to church again, you'll be like, oh, let's just do it. And then the guy shakes your hand and goes, you stop microwaving for 33 seconds every night. What are you doing? The apocalypse is coming.
Then I would be like, you listen to the podcast?
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.